Hey everyone, What If Fan here, bringing you another exciting part of What If Fusion deck user in a different Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. You can find the fanfic title and the original author's name on my Patreon page. Make sure to check it out and show them some love. If you enjoy the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Quick update. The series What If Ichigo awoke his true powers to save his mother will be going on hold soon, since we've nearly caught up with the author. So now, I need your help picking the next project for the channel. I'm currently deciding between these three fanfics. What if Transmigrated into a nightmare mode Dragon Ball world? What if Reborn in Highschool DxD as a Lucifuge? What if Fishing System in Food Wars world? Please vote in the poll and let me know which story you'd like to see next. I'll take the top pick and start working on that series next. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. Alright, let's jump into it. Chapter 231, The Confused Pioneer. While the heroes busied themselves preparing a duel arena and finding Selena a worthy opponent, the world, as always, kept turning. Fate, though meandering, always led to the same end. Ah, such a shame. Our rising star Zane Truesdale has fallen short of the top 32. The announcer's voice echoed from the studio broadcast. Zane sat slumped on a company bench, head lowered, hollow. Another loss. Ever since losing to Aster Phoenix, his record hadn't been terrible, but his win rate was steadily declining. What began as an upset was now undeniable. He was getting weaker. The company president had told him repeatedly not to stress too much. Zane still had a strong image and held good commercial value. He didn't need to obsess over that loss to Aster. What he needed was to get his head back in the game. But Zane had asked for time off. He could say it was all meta matchups, decks targeting machines or cyber dragons. But he couldn't bring himself to hide behind that excuse. Even under non-fusion area, Hikaru could still summon fusion monsters through all kinds of workarounds. Was Zane really saying he couldn't win just because of counter-strategies? Zane. President. Zane stood as a middle-aged businessman approached. I heard. You want to return to the academy for a bit? Yes. I think I still have a lot to work on. Nonetheless, our company can't endorse a pro-duelist graduate who runs to his old teachers every time he loses. No. I'm not looking for my teacher. The public won't believe that. Zane fell silent. The businessman sighed. Not from kindness. Zane still had value for the company's image and GG revenue. So the man merely sighed again, then pulled a card from his coat. Take this. What is it? A travel pass to Neo Domino City. Our firm is moving into interdimensional exploration. Zane, you've got experience there. We want to expand our operations. I believe you'll excel at it. And if you have someone you want to meet, do it there. You won't have the tabloids on your back. A rare smile broke across Zane's face. He accepted the card and bowed. Thank you, sir. Ha, this is for the company's prosperity too. Do your best, Zane. I'm rooting for you. He patted Zane's shoulder. Take your time there, reset yourself, and then come back. I will. His energy was back. After background checks and trials, Zane passed Kaibacorp's filters and was transported through a dimensional gate to Neo Domino City. Back in this dimension, his stagnant heart began to stir. Ever since his defeat by Aster, Zane had questioned himself more and more. Why was he dueling? Why had he become a pro-duelist? Adult society was nothing like the academy. There was no Professor Growler, no understanding Hikaru, no Jaden's laughter. And he still had to worry about Cyrus. Every day hurt. Every night, he tossed and turned. He asked himself again and again. Was this really what he wanted? Was this the kind of dueling he loved? He had no answers. Now. Ha, huff. Neo Domino City was an artificial dimension bridging fractured ones. Last year, when Zane visited, it was still sparse. Now, it was bustling. Some tech here could only be seen in X dimension. He tilted his head toward the artificial sun, mimicking moonlight. Overhead, a winged figure streaked by like an angel. He shielded his eyes from the glare, watched a while, then lowered his head and flexed a tired hand. X-Dimension citizens were a strange breed. He had called Hikaru before arriving, but there was no answer. So he tried Chaz and learned that Hikaru had gone to the skyscraper with Selena. Still, Zane had plenty of time off, so he wasn't worried. Hikaru had once told him not to do things he didn't want to in a duel. Zane never understood that. Not until now. He stopped by a card shop run by an X-Dimensioner. Last year, he told Hikaru not to waste money on leftover packs from other dimensions. They rarely held rare cards. But now, alone and aimless, Zane found himself buying a few anyway. Just to pass the time. He opened them one by one, placing the cards aside casually. As he sorted them, a deafening boom shattered the front door of the shop. What the hell? He whipped his head toward the entrance. A hulking brute in spiked leathers kicked down the door. A weird octopus-like hat clung to his bald head. In one hand, he held a thick club. In the other, a burlap sack. He smashed the glass display case with a crash and roared, "Bag all the cards. Now!" A cack. The shopkeeper dove under the counter, trembling. Zane blinked. A robbery? Wait, a real robbery? Was this guy from X Dimension too? Is it really that lawless here? Before Zane could process, a glowing red sigil appeared on the man's forehead. He bashed his club again, screaming, "Hurry up and bag the cards. Don't know what's going on, but you're wearing a dual disc, right?" Zane stepped forward, slapping his deck and cards into his dual disc as he activated it. A silver mechanical dragon projection spiraled behind him, coiling through the shop with a menacing glare. "Bastard! You dare stand in my way? I'll kill you and take your cards too." The man shattered another display, cards and glass flying. His logic baffled Zane. Yet, anyways, duel. Wild Robber, LP, 4000. Zane Truesdale, LP, 4000. As the duel began, a sharp whistle rang out. The cowering shopkeeper suddenly froze. All the shattered cards and flying shards stopped midair. A figure dropped down outside the store. As he landed, his mechanical wings detached and transformed into a small robot. "Master Kaito. Someone beat us here." "I can see that," the newcomer muttered. His eyes caught the school uniform on the duelist inside, and he scoffed. "An interdimensionaler. Why did it have to involve one of them?" He frowned, weighing the tension between two universes. Then sneered. "Fine. I'll resurrect him after he loses." Chapter 232, The Robber Walking Through the Dimension. When the duel officially began, Zane Truesdale finally realized what he had just done. Dueling a robber was one thing, but his opponent was an interdimensional visitor who had committed a robbery for some unknown reason. What was wrong with this guy? And how did he have the guts to rob a store under the Kaiba Corp banner? All of that should be taken into serious consideration. But if it's just a duel, there shouldn't be a problem, right? He muttered that to himself. My turn. Droll the robber, dressed in an extremely wild fashion, drew a card, placed it into his left hand, then pulled another card from his left hand. I summon, in defense position, Serene Psychic Witch. Serene Psychic Witch. Level 3 Earth Psychic 1200 Def. End my turn. That's it? Zane was a little stunned by the scene. Hey, it's your turn. Fine, then. In the end, he's just a robber, not a professional duelist. Zane quickly drew a card. If your opponent controls a monster and you control none, you can special summon this card from your hand. Come on, Cyber Dragon. The image of Cyber Dragon appeared in front of him. Cyber Dragon. Level 5 Light Machine 2100 ATK. Cyber Dragon? At that moment, the people who had fallen earlier, a man and his mechanical servant, had unknowingly entered the shop and were watching the duel. When the man saw Cyber Dragon, a faint memory surfaced, but he couldn't recall it clearly. Master Kite. The strange little robot beside him saluted, then aimed its eyes at the wall, projecting holograms. Master Kite. This person is Zane Truesdale, known as Kaiser, from the Dimensional Newcomer Exchange last year. The master and servant who had entered began exchanging information. So it's him. Kite nodded. He had seen Kaiser duel before and was aware of his level. But precisely because he knew Kaiser's level, the fact that he appeared in Neo Domino City without the exchange going on was highly suspicious. Is he here on vacation, or battle? Cyber Dragon attacks Serene Psychic Witch. Evolution burst. Foolish. Watching the duel, Kite sneered the moment Zane declared his attack. Ha! What's wrong, Master Kite? Kite had no interest in explaining. He simply realized Zane hadn't gone all out. Because it's simple, Cyber Dragon was special summoned, and beyond that, he hadn't performed a normal summon at all. From Kite's perspective, facing any number holder should mean attacking ruthlessly with full force, no holding back. Boom! The witch was hit directly by a blast of light and shattered into fragments with a scream. Right now, Serene Psychic Witch's effect activates. When destroyed and sent to the graveyard, I can banish one psychic monster with 2000 or less attack from my deck. During my next standby phase, that monster is special summoned. Waving his iron rod, the robber shouted, I banish Hushed Psychic Cleric from my deck. I see. Zane nodded. Then, I set a card and end my turn. My turn, draw. The robber, who had a post-apocalyptic vibe, drew a card, glanced at it, then started laughing madly. Now, Hushed Psychic Cleric, banished by Serene Psychic Witch's effect, returns to my field. A portal opened as if tearing through space, and an elderly figure dropped onto his field. Hushed Psychic Cleric. Level 3 or its Psychic 0 ATK. Then, I play the spell card, Monster Reborn. I revive Serene Psychic Witch from my graveyard. The Serene Psychic Witch, destroyed last turn, was revived. What's the point of this? Wait. Zane suddenly realized something. He had nearly forgotten. This wasn't his world. This was Neo Domino City. 2 level 3 monsters? He. The robber cackled like a madman, the strange symbol on his forehead glowing even brighter. I overlay my level 3 Serene Psychic Witch and level 3 Hushed Psychic Cleric to build the overlay network. Boom! The 2 monsters turned into purple light and slammed into the ground. A pitch-black vortex appeared in the card shop. Ha 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 ha. Explorer of Dimensions, the cephalopod that traverses the shadows between worlds, appear now. XYZ Summon. Rank 3, number 26, Spaceway Octo Bypass. A giant cube materialized, and from its center, countless projections extended outward, forming an octopus with strange symbols on its head. The projections solidified one by one until it took a complete form. Number 26, Spaceway Octo Bypass. Rank 3 Light Psychic 2400 DF Materials, 2. Ha ha ha. The robber scratched at his forehead like something was being sucked out of it. Meanwhile, the massive octopus emitted strange, multicolored lights. It's here, Master Kite. The robot frantically switched to scanning mode. I see. This number has dimensional traversal abilities. Kite nodded. So that's it. Because interdimensional visitors exist, this guy relies on this dimension-hopping number to frequently cross worlds, robbing cards for profit. Or perhaps the opposite. He sought this number exactly to gain more ways to make money. End turn. Ending already? Zane drew a card, puzzled. No. No matter what, since the opponent has summoned their ace, it's time to step it up. My turn, draw. I activate polymerization. I fuse the Cyber Dragon on my field with the Cyber Dragon in my hand. Fusion summon, Cyber Twin Dragon. Cyber Twin Dragon. Level 8 Light Machine 2800 ATK. Battle. Master Kite, shouldn't we tell him that numbers can only be destroyed by other numbers? For a duelist, experience is the best teacher. That guy's famous in his dimension, so let him figure it out, Kite replied casually. But he didn't expect. The opponent activated an effect at that very moment. I activate Spaceway Octo Bypass's effect. At the start of either player's battle phase, by detaching one material, only one monster can attack this turn, and that monster attacks directly. Linear Warp. With the robber's shout, a golden sphere orbiting the octopus was absorbed. The octopus then opened a one-way dimensional corridor, creating a massive hole before Cyber Twin Dragon. On the other side of the hole was the robber himself. What? The robot jumped in shock. Kite raised an eyebrow, then quickly figured out something. Doesn't make sense. Zane was utterly confused. Cyber Twin Dragon can attack twice per turn. It didn't matter if he didn't get it. The battle must go on. Cyber Twin Dragon, direct attack. Boom. The light blast pierced through the dimensional hole, striking the robber directly. AO ARG. Robber, LP, 1200. Alright then, Cyber Twin Dragon second. Cyber Twin Dragon? Just as Zane was about to declare a second attack, he realized something was wrong. Very wrong. With Cyber Twin Dragon. When a monster inflicts battle damage to the opponent through a direct attack, at the end of the damage step, control of that monster switches to the opponent. What? Zane shouted, trying to stop it, but a hole opened beneath Cyber Twin Dragon. In the next instant, it was standing on his opponent's field. Chapter 233, Rage burns in the heart of the noble duelist. Zane clenched his fists. He had prepared himself to face countless opponents. On the pro circuit, he dealt with all sorts of restrictions and counters. In a match just a few days ago, he'd even been hit with system crash, wiping out every machine monster from his field and graveyard. But he still managed to scrape together a victory and barely make it into the top 32. Barely. But even then, he had never faced a situation like this, facing his own Cyber Dragon. End turn. Zane ended his turn with a grim face. My turn, draw. The robber drew, glanced at the card, and clicked his tongue. Battle. Cyber Twin Dragon, direct attack. You passed. Pay the price for getting in the way of my big score. Cyber Twin Dragon twisted its body, clearly unwilling. Cyber Twin Dragon. Zane felt like his heart was bleeding. No matter how desperately he screamed, as soon as a strange sigil appeared on Cyber Twin Dragon, he could only take the direct attack head-on. The blast hit Zane directly. The force flung him across the shop, smashing into the counter, scattering everything. He struggled to his feet, coughing up a mouthful of blood. Zane, LP, 1200. What the hell was this? Why did this pain feel so real, worse than dueling with spirits? How does it feel to be crushed by your beloved monster? The robber laughed maniacally. I'm gonna shred you, grind you, crush you with your own monster, and toss your remains into a dimensional rift like garbage. You bastard. Zane struggled to stand, finally noticing how strange the surroundings were. The shattered counter floated midair. The blood he coughed up hung suspended. And then there were those two, a man and a machine, standing nearby. Clearly, he had gotten dragged into some major interdimensional incident, just like the one with the sacred beasts. Zane got back to his feet, and somehow, his mind felt clearer than before. But that Spaceway Octo Bypass's effect triggers at the end of the damage step after a monster inflicts battle damage with a direct attack. In other words, it's a mandatory trigger. TCH. A weak old monster like that isn't worth keeping. Fine, take it back. The robber scoffed. You! Zane gritted his teeth and roared. He. I set a card and end my turn. Zane clenched his fists tighter. A terrifying, overwhelming supernatural power surged through his body. But beyond that, for the first time in his life, something even worse. He felt rage. Real, blinding rage at his opponent as a person. Duelists should respect each other. Dueling is sacred. The goal of a duel is to pursue brilliance, beauty. That was what he was taught at the academy, and it was what he had always believed. It was thanks to dueling that their world continued to develop and thrive. It was thanks to dueling that their world could transcend dimensions and do things beneficial for humanity. Dueling is noble. He had always believed that. Even interdimensional spirits, even the Shadow Riders, they had always fought with dignity and ideals through dueling. And he had always respected his opponents. But today, for the first time, he felt real rage toward another human. My turn, draw. With fury, he slapped down a card. Normal summon, Cyber Dragon Dre. A golden-edged mechanical dragon appeared on his field. Cyber Dragon Dre. Level 4 Light Machine 1800 ATK. While on the field or in the graveyard, this card is treated as Cyber Dragon. Battle phase. Zane roared as he declared battle. This time, however, the opponent didn't activate any monster effect. Ha! Why isn't he activating the numbers effect, Master Kite? The robot asked in confusion. Ha! Of course, it's the life points. Kite sighed helplessly. Indeed, Spaceway Octo Bypass had the ability to seize monsters, but LP was limited. Both sides had 1200 LP now. If the robber activated the effect again, it would force a direct attack, which would be suicidal. Cyber Twin Dragon, attack Spaceway Octo Bypass. Boom. Too bad, Kite muttered under his breath. What? Zane blinked in confusion. Numbers can only be destroyed by other numbers. Before Kite's group could explain, the robber cackled, so even if you've got 2800 attack, it doesn't matter. You can't destroy Spaceway Octo Bypass. GHHH. Next turn, if I draw any monster with 1200 attack or more, I can use Octo Bypass's effect for a direct attack. Then you're done. He. You're finished, you damn interdimensional freak. I'm gonna rip you apart. Then I'll finish you here and now. Zane roared, flipping his set card. Activate the quick play spell, Cybernetic Revolution. Tribute 1 Cyber Dragon to special summon a fusion monster that lists Cyber Dragon as material from the extra deck. That monster can't attack directly, and it's destroyed during the end phase of the next turn. I tribute Cyber Dragon Dre to special summon Cyber End Dragon. A surge of violent electricity roared as the three-headed mechanical dragon descended onto Zane's field. Cyber End Dragon. Level 10 Light Machine 4000 ATK. 4000 attack? And not just that, it deals piercing battle damage when attacking defense position monsters. Ugh! The robber's face twisted in terror. Attack! Cyber End Dragon, attack Spaceway Octo Bypass. This ends. Not so fast. I activate the counter trap, negate attack. The robber flipped his set card. Negate the attack and end the battle phase. The Cyber End Dragon, mid-charge, was forced to power down, halting its assault. Zane clenched his fists even tighter. He glanced at his hand, then set a card. As furious as he was, he had no choice but to end his turn. Looks like the interdimensional guy's stuck now, Master Kite. The robot saluted. I'll prepare to duel. But Kite, arms crossed, didn't respond. He simply kept watching the duel quietly. Ha, my turn. Drawl. The robber drew, glanced at his card, then grinned as he looked toward his continuous trap to the left. Even though he didn't draw a monster with 1200 attack, with those two cards combined, he was invincible. Chapter 234, Cyber Dragon Nova. I normal summon, Psychic Ace. A Psychic-type monster sitting on an aircraft appeared on the robber's field. Psychic Ace. Level 2 Dark Psychic 1000 ATK. 1000 attack. Battle phase. I activate Spaceway Octobypass's effect. This turn, only one monster can attack, and that monster can attack directly. What? Zane flinched in shock. A direct attack, with only 1000 attack? Just as he had suspected. This guy wasn't a duelist. He was someone who got their hands on a number card, relying solely on its overwhelming power to vent malice. But this was also his chance. Activate Trap, Threatening Roar. Zane had anticipated that his opponent might attempt a direct attack to wipe out his remaining 1200 LP, so he prepared for it. This turn, your monsters can't declare attacks. TCH, lucky. The robber chuckled, then glanced at the two cards in his hand. But I've already won anyway. I set 2 cards. Your turn. Oh, right. Your monster self-destructs now, doesn't it? He looked towards Cyber End Dragon, which shattered into fragments and vanished. Zane let out a deep breath. That was close. If that monster had managed to attack, he'd be finished. His heart pounded, palms soaked in sweat. But now, he could win. As long as he attacked through, as long as he destroyed that Psychic Ace. Spaceway Octobypass had no more overlay materials, meaning its effect was gone. Victory was in sight. My turn, draw. Zane yanked a card from his deck, glanced at it, and his eyes widened in shock. What card is this? This card was never part of his deck. Then realization struck. It must have been from the booster packs he'd grabbed earlier when the robber showed up. He'd shoved the cards directly into his deck without checking them. He carefully read the effect, and his face darkened. No way he could use something like this. He shook his head. Not that it mattered. The duel would end this turn. All he had to do was finish it. Battle. Cyber Twin Dragon attacks Psychic Ace. Hold it. The robber grinned again. Activate Continuous Trap, Astral Barrier. As long as this card remains on the field, when an opponent's monster attacks a monster you control, the attack becomes a direct attack. What? Zane blinked. With only 1200 LP, that would be suicide. I'm not done, the robber interrupted. Activate another Continuous Trap, Spirit Barrier. As long as I control a monster, I take no battle damage. Zane's eyes widened as the terrifying combo became clear. No wonder the robber had casually used Octobypass last turn, even with a monster under 1200 ATK. It wasn't just to inflict psychological pain. He was confident he could finish this duel. With these 2 traps, and since numbers can't be destroyed except by other numbers, he'd always have a monster on the field. Direct attacks? Piercing damage? Pointless. Worse yet, because attacks redirect into direct attacks, Octobypass could snatch control of monsters again. It was, effectively, invincible. Come on, Cyber Twin Dragon. Attack me directly. Boom. Cyber Twin Dragon fired, but a translucent shield absorbed the blow. And now, come to me, Cyber Twin Dragon. Just like before, the control of Cyber Twin Dragon flipped, landing it squarely onto the robber's field. Zane's field was now completely empty. Damn you. Damn you. I will never forgive you. Zane's eyes burned red with fury. I activate spell, Cyber Repair Plant. If Cyber Dragon is in my graveyard, I can activate one effect. If I have 3 or more Cyber Dragons in my graveyard, I can activate both. First effect, add 1 Light Machine monster from my deck to my hand. He rifled through his deck, grabbed Cyber Dragon, and added it to his hand. Second effect, shuffle 1 Light Machine from my graveyard back into the deck. I return Cyber End Dragon. Then, special summon, Cyber Dragon. Set one card. End turn. Zane exhaled sharply. If he didn't use this card now, that mind-controlled cyber twin dragon would tear through him next turn. He refused to let that happen. Ha! Looks like this is your final turn. My turn, draw. The robber drew, glanced at his card, and chuckled. Mirror force, huh? Not that it mattered. Battle. This ends. Zane lowered his head, his face dark. On the side, the robot looked up at Kite. Master Kite, should we prepare now? It asked again. Even Kite looked a little disappointed. Was this really all this guy amounted to? But, activate trap. Cybernetic overflow. If I want to win, I have to sacrifice my old friends. Zane roared, slamming the card down. What? Even the robber froze. Banish cyber dragons with different levels from my hand, field, and/or graveyard. Then destroy an equal number of your cards. I banish Cyber Dragon Dre from the graveyard, and Cyber Dragon hers from my hand. Destroy your number 26, Cyber Twin Dragon, and Astral Barrier. This is my struggle to survive. The souls of 3 mechanical dragons surged forward, turning into beams that obliterated the opponent's monsters and traps. Even if a number can't be destroyed by battle except by another number, it's still just a monster. Effects can destroy it. Zane's face contorted into a wild grin, something utterly unlike him. It was as if the moment he banished his beloved cyber dragons, something deep within him was unleashed. He finally realized what he truly wanted. A duelist fights to win. TCH. The robber cursed under his breath, glancing at his hand. Doesn't matter. I still have mirror force. If Zane wants to win, he'll have to summon another monster. And once he does, mirror force will wipe his field clean. Set one card. End turn. He. My turn, draw. Zane had never felt this light before. He looked at his drawn card and grinned even wider. Activate spell, Evolution Burst. While I control a face-up cyber dragon, target one card your opponent controls. Destroy it. Cyber Dragon can't attack this turn. What? If Cyber Dragon can't attack, how are you going to win? Oh, you'll see. Zane pointed to the set card. Destroy that. Cyber Dragon gathered energy and unleashed a blast of searing white light, vaporizing the set card. Mirror force. Damn it. But now you're wide open. Open? Ha 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 ha. Don't make me laugh. Zane laughed madly and Normal summoned a new monster. Normal summon, another Cyber Dragon Dre. Ha! That's still a Cyber Dragon, isn't it? And you don't have polymerization. Oh, but when Cyber Dragon Dre is successfully summoned, its effect activates. All Cyber Dragons I control become level 5. Wah! Even Kite uncrossed his arms, eyes widening as he stared at Zane's field in disbelief. Wait. He. Ha ha ha. I overlay my 2 level 5 monsters to build the overlay network. What? Kite's usual cool shattered. The 2 silver dragons twisted into golden spheres, descending into a newly formed black vortex. O mechanical dragon that seeks endless evolution. Abandon your broken shell and ascend to a new domain. A jet-black armored dragon with pitch-black plating and obsidian wings slowly emerged from the vortex. He actually, did an XYZ summon? The robot's mechanical eyes nearly popped out. Kite blinked. So, even an interdimensional duelist has what it takes. XYZ summon, rank 5, Cyber Dragon Nova. Cyber Dragon Nova. Rank 5 Light Machine 2100 ATK materials, 2. He actually used an XYZ summon. For victory, he even threw away his own world's summoning method? Summoning method? TCH. All I care about is winning. Zane swung his arm down. Activate Cyber Dragon Nova's effect. Detach one material to special summon one Cyber Dragon from the graveyard. A golden sphere was absorbed, and a Cyber Dragon rose from the graveyard. Battle. Cyber Dragon attacks Psychic Ace. Cyber Dragon's white-hot plasma beam obliterated the monster. Gah! The robber shielded himself from the blast. Now, Cyber Dragon Nova, direct attack for game. Nice job, interdimensional guy, the robot cheered. He. Activate Cyber Dragon Nova's effect. Once per turn, during either player's turn, banish one Cyber Dragon from my hand or field. This card gains 2100 attack. I banish Cyber Dragon from my field. WH what? Master Kite. Why's he doing that? He already had lethal. Kite frowned slightly but didn't answer. Doesn't matter. Frankly, if someone kept stealing my galaxy eyes, I'd probably be this mad too. By banishing Cyber Dragon Nova's attack skyrockets. Cyber Dragon Nova, ATK, 2100 4200. Stronger than even his beloved Cyber End Dragon. Cyber Dragon Nova, direct attack. Evolution Burst, Nova. This is my desire for victory. Begone, loser. Chapter 235. After the duel ended, Zane collapsed onto the floor, panting heavily. It was only then that he realized he had no strength left. He coughed violently, spitting up blood. His chest throbbed with stabbing pain, and every bone in his body felt numb, as if he'd been struck by a massive hammer. Worse than any shadow duel he'd ever experienced. Lifting his head, he looked toward the fallen robber, who had passed out with the strange symbol on his forehead flickering weakly. As Zane puzzled over this, one of the cards from the robber's deck suddenly floated into the air and drifted toward him. His eyes widened at the supernatural sight. A beam of white light shot across his vision. The light formed a hand, which snatched the card midair and pulled it over to Kite, who glanced at it before setting it aside casually. Zane took a deep breath and slowly stood with the help of a nearby counter. You really lucked out, interdimensional guy, the robot rolled up to him. If it weren't for Master Kite, you'd be dead. Master Kite? Dead? What does that even mean? Zane frowned, then glanced at the robber and was shocked to see the man's face rapidly aging, hair turning stark white before his body shriveled into lifeless decay. What is this? Clutching his chest, the stabbing pain surged again. Strange. It wasn't like the Shadow Games fought against the Shadow Riders, yet the damage was real. Even worse than fighting spirits or the Shadow Riders. Numbers inhabit the souls of humans, Kite explained, stepping forward, his face cold. That brief statement was enough for Zane to piece things together. The robot quickly filled in the details. Number cards were special monsters from their dimension. They amplified the desires in people's hearts, granting supernatural power but also controlling the users. The man Zane had just fought was a Number Hunter, an agent from their world named Amaki Kite, also known as the Emissary of Galaxy Eyes. This time, Kite had come because their leader reported that a number user had accidentally slipped into another dimension. Amaki? Zane muttered. He didn't care much about the rest. What mattered was this: number monsters were dangerous entities, like the sacred beasts, and dueling against them was inherently a shadow duel. No wonder it was so painful. But the name Amaki stuck in his mind. At first, he hadn't made any connections. This man named Amaki Kite looked nothing like Amaki Hikaru. But after hearing the name spoken, he couldn't help but feel a faint resemblance. Back in the S dimension, they had encountered someone who looked exactly like Selena. Maybe this guy was another counterpart of Hikaru? Thinking of Hikaru made Zane sigh with a bitter smile. Hikaru had repeatedly told him to reflect on what he truly wanted. Zane had avoided deep introspection until now. Seeing his Cyber Dragon stolen and turned against him over and over, with death looming over him, it finally became clear. Victory! The ultimate goal of a duelist is always victory. Some people simply don't deserve respect. As a senior, as a veteran, he'd realized it far too late. He held his forehead. You look like you're in pain. Kite glanced at him, then turned to his robot. Orbital 7. Yes, Master Kite. Orbital 7 zipped over, opened a compartment in its body, and extended a mechanical arm, offering Zane a strange capsule. Without hesitation, Zane grabbed it and swallowed it dry. Consider that payment for helping me hunt this number, Kite said offhandedly. The medicine worked quickly. Zane finally felt the pain subside and took a long, relieved breath. Kite stood in silence, deep in thought. Normally, after retrieving a number, he'd head home immediately to check on his beloved little brother, Haruto. But not today. This duel, both the robber and Zane had revealed something terrifying. The former showed that numbers could appear in other dimensions. The latter proved that even interdimensional duelists could, under the influence of numbers, tap into the multidimensional network to perform XYZ summons. Put together, the answer was obvious. Numbers could exist in other dimensions too. Kite rubbed his temples. This meant his job as a number hunter might now extend not just across space, but across infinite dimensions. He glanced at Zane, who was still catching his breath and reorganizing his deck. Thinking it over, Kite started explaining how numbers might appear in other dimensions. Orbital 7 elaborated further, and Zane's relief quickly turned to dread. Looks like we have a lot to discuss. Zane forced himself to sit straighter. Let's talk seriously. It couldn't be helped. Kite nodded. His job couldn't be made public. The numbers were an issue of his world. His father, Dr. Faker, and Mr. Shinsun had told him, only by hunting numbers could he cure Haruto's illness. He couldn't let them remain in other dimensions. In that case, finding an ally in other dimensions was crucial. And through their duel, Kite could tell Zane was no lunatic. Quite the opposite. As a duelist, he was as pure and determined as they come, perhaps even purer now than before. As the strongest duelist of his world, Kite trusted his judgment. Perhaps it was the shared surname Amaki. Perhaps it was the duelist spirit in Zane. Perhaps it was the fact that both had younger brothers. Whatever the reason, the two hit it off surprisingly well. Zane even mentioned a younger duelist named Amaki Hikaru. A fusion-only duelist? Ha! Master Kite is skilled in all summoning methods. Shut up, Orbital 7. Why yes, Master. Amaki Hikaru. Kite remembered. A student who dueled in their dimension last year, wasn't he? Someone that pure, he could respect that. After all, though Kite was the strongest, he had also discarded his trust in monsters, using them purely as tools for victory to save his brother. In the end, Kite gave Zane several generic XYZ support cards and left him a dimensional communicator to contact him anytime. Then, after dropping Zane at Neo Domino City's hospital, he returned to his own dimension. Zane lay in his hospital bed, staring at the ceiling. He pulled out his newly rebuilt deck and grinned widely. Hikaru, thanks for reminding me so many times. My dueling wasn't pure enough after all. Speaking of which, wasn't there also an over-cyber-style variant? His thoughts wandered, not just about himself, but about numbers, about Cyberdark, about the academy, about the pro-dueling scene, and about what kind of gift he'd prepare for the next time he met Amaki Hikaru. Thinking and thinking, fatigue finally dragged him into sleep. Meanwhile, in another dimension far removed, the skyscraper world, Selena had just finished her own duel. She was gleefully hugging a duel spirit, rubbing her head affectionately against it. It was a giant panda, Flowpunch Panda. Honestly, not that relevant to her deck, but as the highest grade beast warrior duel spirit she could find in this world, it was pretty good. At least now, Hikaru figured, if Selena got ambushed, she'd have some protection. No more helpless brainwashing like in the original timeline. Even so, he still wasn't fully reassured. After all, Yubel was coming. And on top of that, Selena was still being targeted by Sarah's fusion army. She could get captured and brainwashed at any moment. This wasn't enough. They'd need to build a dimensional gate inside the Fusion Club headquarters soon and help Selena gather more dual spirits for protection. Chapter 236. Back in the real world, Hikaru contacted acting principal Growler and told him that it would be best not to let freshmen visit the skyscraper dimension for the time being. He also reported everything he had witnessed inside the skyscraper. Upon hearing this, Growler finally understood why Hikaru had stayed in the skyscraper dimension for several days. So that's what happened. The spirit world isn't peaceful either. Mamma mia. Even though Hikaru had helped the heroes drive away Gold, Warlord of Dark World, and even directly obtained the card that sealed him along with Wicked Rune, it didn't mean the heroes could rest easy. According to the heroes, they were going to use Skyscraper as a base for a long-term war against the warriors of Dark World. During this period, they planned to deploy more and stronger main heroes. As a result, the Skyscraper dimension would become increasingly dangerous, so they advised the human side not to send young duelists there for training anymore. Mamma mia, this is. Growler held his head, feeling a massive headache. I was even thinking of sending Jaden there to unwind. Jaden? What happened? Hikaru asked. He's been completely out of it ever since losing to Aster. Growler rubbed his temples and explained what had happened the previous day. While Hikaru and Selena were off adventuring in Skyscraper, Aster had already arrived at the academy and successfully dueled Jaden. Even though Jaden's elemental heroes were strong enough, he still lost to Aster's destiny heroes. Since then, Jaden had been dazed and listless. He wasn't skipping classes anymore, nor was he eagerly dueling. Instead, he just stared blankly at the sea every day. Growler originally thought sending Jaden to Skyscraper to relax might help. After all, it was the home of his beloved heroes. Who would have thought the place had turned into a battlefield for spirits? Growler simply assumed Jaden was mentally shaken after being defeated by Destiny Hero. But listening to this, Hikaru frowned. He had thought things were fine since Yubel was already causing trouble and Sartorius shouldn't have been an issue anymore. But now? This sounded exactly like the original plot, where Sartorius used Aster to steal Jaden's destiny. So Sartorius is still at it, huh? Looks like another villain just got added to the roster. However, thinking of it another way, does that mean Jaden is about to obtain elemental hero Neos? In the original, after both Zane and Jaden got crushed by Aster, Zane spiraled into a losing streak in the pro leagues and lost all public favor, while Jaden became so disoriented he couldn't even see his cards or duel monsters anymore. Zane ended up getting scammed into underground duels where he was electrocuted during matches, eventually going insane and finally realizing what he truly wanted, leading him to abandon his cyber dragons. Jaden, meanwhile, got struck by a cosmic force during his confusion, transported to an unknown space, and gained a new power, Elemental Hero Neos. Honestly, the super mixed deck of Neos, Elemental Hero, and Neospatian is even messier than Hikaru's current fusion deck. Hikaru can easily top deck any combo thanks to a deck full of polymerizations, even including extra fusion. But with Jaden's luck, that deck would be completely bricked for anyone else, yet he could make it work. After getting Neos, Jaden's god tier top decking reached absurd levels. Unless it was a case like fusing Bubbleman into diffusion just to tribute summon Neos, Hikaru thought it was all pretty amazing. As for the duel between the hero users, Hikaru didn't have much of an opinion. I see. Then I should go check on Jaden later, Hikaru said after thinking for a moment. After all, this world isn't exactly the same as the original. For instance, Yubel wasn't exiled to space but sent to another dimension. Who knows if the Neospatians can even find Jaden now? Ah, wait a moment, Hikaru. Just as Hikaru turned to leave, Growler called him back. Hikaru quickly turned around and looked at Growler. Growler opened a drawer, took out an exquisite box, placed it on the table, and smiled. Hikaru, you should take this card with you. Hikaru stepped forward, picked up the box, and opened it. Inside was a perfectly preserved card. Ancient Gear Chaos Fusion? He quickly scanned the card's effect. Yup, it's the one. This was the ultimate fusion that Dennis used in the original. This was a gift from the Ancient Gear Factory after we established a new partnership, Growler explained with a smile. Though honestly, you should have it more than me. But Professor, this is your card. Hikaru, despite really wanting it, shook his head after hearing it was a unique card. Ancient Gear Chaos Fusion sends a polymerization from your hand to the graveyard, then targets an Ancient Gear Fusion monster in the extra deck. You banish all monsters from your extra deck that are listed as materials for that fusion monster, including itself if applicable, then special summon those monsters from your deck, extra deck, or graveyard, ignoring summoning conditions with effects negated. Then fusion summon the targeted monster using them. As a fusion spell, it wasn't very useful to Growler, whose extra deck only had 2 or 3 cards. That said, for Hikaru, it was a game changer. With this card, he could even pivot from Gem Knight to Ancient Gear in one move, instantly fusing into Ultimate Ancient Gear Golem. Just take it. Growler chuckled, shaking his head. You asked me to collect the Dark Hex-sealed fusion before, but I never found it. Soon, the principal will be taking the students on an interdimensional internship. You might be sent elsewhere and won't have the chance to visit the Ancient Gear Factory. Consider this card my gift. Growler patted his chest proudly. Right now, your professor is quite the celebrity at the Ancient Gear Factory. I'll have plenty of chances to get more Ancient Gear cards. But you'll be traveling across different dimensions to study alchemy and fusion. So don't worry. Keep the card safe. Professor. Principal. Principal. Hikaru bowed deeply. Principal Growler, I will definitely help you become the real principal. Ah, that's not really necessary. Growler made a flustered gesture in the air, then laughed loudly. To him, as long as his students performed well and respected him, feeding his vanity and letting him look good in front of students and teachers alike, he was happy. With Zane before and now Hikaru, his reputation was higher than ever among both teachers and students. Professor. Hikaru carefully pocketed the card, then added, in that case, how about I go as a scouting party first and explore the dimension the principal chose for the internship? After all, what happened with Dark World and Skyscraper might happen somewhere else too. Principal Shepard wanted to keep it a surprise for the students. What a surprise! Hikaru was speechless. Sure, the principal was thinking about the students' future. Even so, he had no idea this world was facing one apocalyptic crisis after another. But you do have a point. Luckily, Growler was someone flexible. However, you can't use the Academy's dimensional gate. If you do, it'll be discovered, he added. Ha! Good thing he had that trick up his sleeve. All the time spent researching dimensional gates was finally paying off. Chapter 237, The Injured One. Hikaru received a card with coordinates marked on it from acting principal Growler. According to Growler, this dimension was named Critical Nexus by Kaiba Corp., a massive realm where multiple races coexist, filled with endless possibilities. Kaiba Corp had basically confirmed the safety of this dimension, so when Principal Shepard selected it, he did so without much concern. However, sending so many students to another dimension was a matter of serious deliberation for both parents and investors. The process required extensive negotiations and discussions, so it couldn't be finalized immediately. Since that was the case, Hikaru now had time to build a dimensional gate and check the situation himself. Just in case, he could even construct a two-way dimensional gate over there to ensure a backup route for the students to return to the human world. But before that, he had to check on Jaden. The atmosphere in the Fusion Club was a bit gloomy, but it brightened slightly when Hikaru returned. Hikaru didn't see Jaden or Aster. From Bastion, he learned that after defeating Jaden, Aster wasn't particularly satisfied. In fact, he seemed a bit disappointed. Head instructor Napoleon wants Aster to duel other students. If Aster wins, they'll shut down the Slifer Red dorm. Since Jaden, as the face of Slifer Red, lost, Napoleon seized the opportunity to stir up trouble. Growler didn't mention this to me, Hikaru said. Probably because you live in the RA Yellow dorm, so it doesn't directly concern you, Bastion replied. But Chaz is ready. If Aster shows up again, he plans to take him on. In this world, Chaz didn't get expelled for card theft like in the original timeline, nor did he transfer to North Academy. He remained an obelisk blue student. However, since he preferred black clothes and constantly clashed with Jaden, he had long been living alone in a Slifer red single room. In fact, even Tyranno Hasselberry from RA Yellow stayed in Slifer for a time, and even Alexis Rhodes moved into Slifer temporarily to live by herself. Also, Aster said he really wants to duel you, Chaz chimed in. He's very interested in your fusion style. But now that this has escalated to dorm pride, I'm not backing down to let you take the fight. The original plan was that once Hikaru returned from the other dimension, he'd be the one to duel Aster. After all, besides defeating Jaden, Aster was also eager to duel Hikaru, whose ultimate fusion style fascinated him. Dueling Jaden was about Aster's personal philosophy. Dueling Hikaru, however, was because Aster wanted to experience what it meant to face a true fusion master. That said, since Hikaru stayed in the skyscraper dimension for so long, and with Napoleon aggressively pushing things forward, they had to adjust the plan. Not that Chaz minded. When I win, I'll make Napoleon expand the Slifer dorm, Chaz pounded the table. And give Light and Darkness Dragon and Armed Dragon their own rooms to sleep in. Cough, ha ha ha. Hikaru couldn't help laughing. Despite mainly using decks like Armed Dragon, Ojama, and VWXYZ, Chaz had dozens, maybe even over 100 dual spirit companions. Most were low attack, common spirits. Even though he constantly called them weaklings, he never abandoned them. Because of that, his sleep quality was always terrible. On top of that, dealing with the Ojama trio and business matters was mentally exhausting, so he desperately needed a bigger space to relax. Still, beating Aster right now would be tough for Chaz. Compared to the original timeline, Chaz was much stronger. But truth be told, before getting Plasma, Aster in the original was nearly unbeatable. Not in an exaggerated way, but genuinely destroying anyone he faced. Only Jaden, after completely changing his deck, ever defeated him. Everyone else got crushed. Of course. Once he got Plasma, everything went downhill. Before Plasma, he was invincible. After Plasma, it was a cursed losing streak. Hikaru rubbed his chin, thinking. In that sense, maybe now is actually the best time to duel Aster, when he's at his peak. Of course, he was half joking. In reality, despite Plasma having a weird curse-like effect in the story where whoever used it lost, Aster with Plasma was actually his fully realized self. He had all his destiny heroes, was free from doubt, believed that fate wasn't set in stone, and was willing to sacrifice for justice and the world. That was when he truly became a hero of destiny. As for Jaden, after getting Neos, he basically became an Ultraman. Not even in the same narrative genre anymore. Either way, Hikaru figured he should duel Aster eventually. After all, besides Aster, there was no other legitimate way in this world to obtain Destiny hero cards. If he wanted to get Dystopia later, dueling Aster would be the way. As he thought about this, Hikaru's phone rang. He pulled it out, glanced at the screen, and looked surprised. Hello, Amaki Hikaru speaking. It was a call from someone at Funglo Corp. That was odd. It wasn't work season, nor was it GG filming period. Why were they calling? Hikaru answered, and as he listened to the anxious voice on the other end, his expression darkened rapidly. His friends watched his face get gloomier and exchanged concerned glances. What could possibly make Hikaru, normally tolerant of everything except the fusion army, this angry? Yes, understood. I'll go ask Principal Growler for leave immediately. Please wait for me. Hikaru hung up, took a deep breath, then looked at Chaz and shook his head. Sorry, Lightning. I won't be able to cheer you on in person. Ha, it's no big deal. Either way, the winner's gonna be me. He really believed it. Is something serious going on, Hikaru? Alexis asked curiously. Hikaru gripped his phone tightly, squinted, and a dangerous glint flashed in his eyes before he suppressed his anger and turned to explain. Rex Raptor got injured in a duel. Rex Raptor, a legendary duelist, Hikaru's senior at the company. Someone of his level getting injured in a duel? Impossible. Everyone immediately frowned. Selena quickly raised her hand and hopped in place, trying to get Hikaru's attention to tag along. Hikaru saw her and quickly shook his head. First years need to focus on their foundation. I'll be back soon. Chapter 238. A few days later, Hikaru arrived on the small island where Funlo Corporation was located. After greeting the company's contact, he hastily got into a car heading toward the local hospital. When he arrived, Hikaru took a few deep breaths, straightened himself to look less disheveled, and gently pushed open the door to the hospital room. Rex Raptor's bed was by the window. He had taken off his usual jacket and signature cap, now wearing hospital clothes. His face was slightly pale, though Hikaru could tell this wasn't due to the injury. Rex had always had a rather pale complexion. At the moment, Rex was staring out the window at the flowerbed, completely lost in thought. He didn't even notice Hikaru entering. For a duelist, someone always aware of their surroundings, this kind of distraction was a serious lapse. Hikaru silently stepped in, placed the gift he prepared on the table, and only then did Rex notice, scratching the back of his head in frustration. "TCH. You came, kid. I told those guys not to notify you, but they called you anyway." Hikaru noticed Rex's right hand wasn't moving well. Clearly, he injured it during that duel, or an important company duelist got hurt. How could they not call me, Big Bro Rex? TCH, Rex still sounded grumpy. A student should focus on school. Don't be like me, a washed-up punk. Regardless, both of them knew. Having a backup in place to prevent someone from kicking a man while he's down was common sense. As the company's number 2 duelist, Hikaru stepping in was only natural. Hikaru pulled over a chair and sat by Rex's side. "Rex, what happened?" Rex lowered his stiff right hand, refusing to meet Hikaru's gaze. He looked back out the window at the flowerbed, the butterflies, and beyond. His eyes were distant. "It's my problem. Big Bro Rex, this isn't a private matter." "TCH, kid, I said it's my problem, so it's my problem." Rex slammed his hand on the bed, then instantly winced and grabbed his wrist with his left hand. "It's none of your business." "But you said yourself. After joining the company, we're family." "You're hurt, so as the number 2 duelist, of course it's my problem." TCH, always with the fancy talk. Rex grumbled for a while, then fell silent, staring even more intently at the flowerbed. Hikaru didn't speak. He just waited. After a long silence, Rex finally muttered, "It was him." "Him?" "Weevil Underwood. You've heard of him, right?" "Weevil, of course." Hikaru lowered his head but didn't respond. A legendary duelist of this era. Japan's former national champion, master of insect decks, Weevil Underwood. Also, Rex Raptor's friend. It was that guy? Hikaru snorted, cursing in his mind. Not surprising. When it came to someone related to Rex and willing to hurt him, who else but Weevil? Still, how was this guy still clinging on after all these years? Especially when Rex had already moved on. Rex then recounted their story to Hikaru. From entering the national tournament as kids, winning first and second place, to joining Pegasus Duelist Kingdom, Kybus Battle City, the Orichalcos incident, and everything that followed. Rex was a simple, straightforward guy. He always saw Weevil as a friend, but Weevil had his own ambitions. Big ones. Weevil had once tricked Yugi into discarding his dark magician by convincing him it was too powerful, and then threw it into the ocean. Later, in Battle City, he planted parasites into Joey Wheeler's deck to sabotage him. Even worse, after losing to Joey and admitting defeat, Weevil still manipulated Rex into seeking revenge, pushing him to join the Doma cult and wield the seal of Orichalcos to attack Joey. In short, scum. Now, decades later, Rex had long reflected on his past mistakes and found a better path, but here was Weevil, showing up again. What was it now? Is it that a brother's failure hurts, but a brother's success hurts more? Rex, then let me handle this. Hikaru clenched his fists. They were both legendary duelists, but how could the gap be this wide? No. Rex shook his head, his eyes glowing with resolve. No. Only if I defeat him. Only then will this final bond be severed. Only then will I be a real duelist. Rex? Hikaru sighed deeply. But you already lost to him. I didn't lose. Rex slammed his right hand on the bed again, instantly wincing and grabbing his wrist. Gritting his teeth, he growled, I hurt my hand before the duel. Got it crushed by a machine. I couldn't hold my cards. The duel wasn't over. I would have won. Since childhood. It had always been like this between him and Weevil. Weevil was the champion. Rex was the runner-up. Weevil came up with the ideas. Rex followed. Rex thought he could finally break free of that cycle, step into a new realm entirely. Yet when it mattered most, he couldn't even hold his cards. He glared at his hand, furious at himself for being useless at the worst possible moment. An accident, huh? Hikaru suddenly understood. Even after all this time, Rex was still that same honest, straightforward guy. And Weevil. Hikaru clenched his fists tightly. He sighed, then voiced the suspicion in his heart. After all, he had no proof. It was just a hunch. But when he said it aloud, Rex's eyes widened in realization, and he lowered his head in a daze. It was exactly the kind of thing Weevil would do. Even after all these years, he'd assumed Weevil had changed, like he had. Sure, they hadn't contacted each other in over a decade, but surely, even the craziest guy would sober up eventually, right? Apparently not. Rex was bitterly disappointed. So that's how it is, then I don't have to hold on to this anymore. Rex leaned back into his bed, as though something heavy had finally lifted. If that's the case, then it doesn't matter anymore. Just let you handle it. Suddenly, he sat up, snapping out of it. No, wait. He turned over, grabbed his deck, and pulled out 2 cards. Hikaru leaned over to look. These 2, they're my oldest friends. Rex gently stroked the cards. They weren't this strong originally, but after joining Funlo Corp, they evolved and grew into something new. He handed the 2 cards to Hikaru. These are symbols of my soul. Rex looked Hikaru dead in the eyes. Go. End this. No, end this threat to our company, our family. And remember. Stay safe. Hikaru took a deep breath and nodded firmly. I understand. Chapter 239, Weevil Underwood. Weevil Underwood's duel challenge against Rex Raptor was a brand duel. After Rex lost, Funlo Corp urgently contacted Hikaru to take over on Rex's behalf. According to Weevil's statement after the last duel, if Funlo Corp lost again, they would have to hand over their brand name. Of course, this had no real meaning to Weevil, but that was the nature of representative duels. Since Rex had already lost once, the venue and turn order were all decided by Weevil this time. The duel was set in an abandoned factory. Hikaru, dressed in his usual uniform, was accompanied by Funlo Corp's representative, a cameraman, and a witness as they entered the factory together. Hikaru, with his dual disc and deck ready, took bold steps into the factory first. From the entrance, stacks of junk and scrap metal were everywhere. On top of one of those piles lay a figure. He lazily swung one leg, resting his head on his hand, staring at the sky. Upon hearing them arrive, he tilted his head slightly. I'm Funlo Corp's representative. This is our duelist, Amaki Hikaru. Ah, you're here. The man grinned and did a backflip, springing to his feet. Just as Hikaru couldn't even make out his face clearly, the guy suddenly yelped, whoa, and slipped, sending something flying. Whatever it was hit something, triggering an overhead trap. A basketball-sized scrap metal ball, tied to a rope, came swinging down from the ceiling. Wah! The witness screamed. Ah! The cameraman instinctively staggered back. Move, Hikaru, the company staff shouted, trying to shove him aside. But Hikaru didn't move. He wasn't panicked at all. He raised his hand. Clank. Creak. In everyone's stunned eyes, Hikaru caught the metal ball with one hand. Then, slowly, he squeezed. Under his grip, the metal began compressing, shrinking as if he were crushing the entire object. Before long, he squeezed it down to the size of a shot put, then casually tossed it toward the man in the factory. Whoosh! Boom! The ball scraped past the man's ear, shredding chunks of his hair, then embedded itself into the wall with a deafening crash, buried so deep that nothing was left visible. Aya! The man shrieked in terror. Cut the crap! Hikaru stomped forward angrily. If you're a duelist, settle it with a duel. TCH, brat. Same word, entirely different vibe. My name is Amaki Hikaru. Representative of Funlo Corp and junior to Rex Raptor. Say my name. Eek, the man shrieked again. Only now did Hikaru finally get a good look at him. Far different from what Hikaru expected. First off, he was tall. Much taller than Hikaru remembered, even taller than Jaden among their peers. But aside from the height, everything about him seemed ruined. He slouched down from the junk pile, hunched over. His complexion was paler than Rex's, with massive dark circles under his eyes, giving him a gloomy aura. This was the legendary duelist Weevil Underwood? Tiara was visibly disappointed. Of course, the superhuman act earlier was her doing. Otherwise, Hikaru would have just dodged. Hikaru, a soul like this wouldn't even be enough to charge that legendary dragon. Yeah, I know, Hikaru replied calmly. But that's not the point. Why are you talking to yourself? Weevil grumbled, slouching like a weak mantis. Why did you go after Rex? Why? Weevil grinned. It's all his fault. Living so well and not pulling me up. It's all his fault. What, are you even saying? Hikaru felt like he was going deaf. I said, it's his fault. Weevil snorted. That guy's got it all now. A big company paying him, free instant noodles, loyal juniors like you. And then he dares show up in front of me? Of course it's his fault. Weevil glared with mismatched eyes, flipping the middle finger. We're friends, right? If he's doing so well and didn't help me, isn't that messed up? That's on him. The two company staff exchanged looks, unsure of what to say. Of course, they knew bits of Rex and Weevil's story. Their brotherhood was well known. Rex rose up while Weevil. Bullshit. Hikaru snapped. You're a legendary duelist too. If you wanted a life like his, all you had to do was swallow your pride, decide to change, and it'd be possible. Hikaru clenched his fists. There are plenty of companies who would welcome duelists like you. But it's because of your terrible reputation and refusal to change that you're still stuck like this. So what right do you have to blame him? He threw his arm aside. Besides, even when I visited him, Rex never fully doubted you. He never fully believed you'd stoop to dirty tricks. Until I came here, he still hoped you'd changed, that you weren't that same piece of trash from before. But look at you now. What the hell have you done? Aya, nice words. But hey, I'm a legendary duelist, okay? Legendary. They should be lining up to give me what I want. Weevil cleaned his ear with his pinky, then suddenly grinned sinisterly. Ha! I get it now. You're the junior he cares about, huh? If I destroy you here, he'll fall into total despair, won't he? He. Hikaru relaxed his hands. He took a deep breath, no longer angry, just calm. We're recording, right? Why yes, the cameraman stammered. You? Weevil gawked, pointing at Hikaru. When I win this duel, I'll upload it online. Hikaru pressed the dual disc button, his tone calm but sharp as a blade. I'll completely crush you, body and soul. I'm your super senior, brat. Don't get cocky. Whether you're hurt or not, I'll win anyway. Get ready to hand over everything. Duel, X2. Weevil, LP, 4000. Hikaru, LP, 4000. Chapter 240, Drop the Elder Act. The duel began. Not just in the arena. All across the world, people were watching the duel via livestream. At Funlo Corp headquarters and factories, everyone had stopped working to watch this duel that would decide their company's future. In a hospital room, Rex Raptor sat silently on his bed, watching the duel unfold. I'll take the first turn. As the previous winner, Weevil Underwood naturally had the right to choose. After drawing his card, he glanced at his hand and let out a creepy giggle. Normal summon, Flying Kamakiri number 2. With a shimmer of his dual disc, a reddish-brown Flying Kamakiri number 2 with crimson wings appeared on his field. Flying Kamakiri number 2, level 4 WAND Insect 1500 ATK. A normal monster? Hikaru raised an eyebrow. Even for someone who hadn't evolved in over a decade, starting with a normal monster seemed a bit basic for a legendary duelist. Then again, Rex Raptor had opened with a 1500 ATK normal monster back then and followed it up with Ultra Evolution Pill and Monster Reborn to summon 2 high-level monsters. So if Weevil had defeated Rex Raptor. End my turn. Weevil tilted his head back with confidence, ending his turn decisively. Hikaru arched an eyebrow. This scene. Meanwhile, Rex Raptor, watching from his hospital room, couldn't help but frown. My turn, draw. Hikaru glanced at his hand. Activate the field spell, Fusion Recycling Plant. Ding ding ding. The dual field transformed into a scrap-filled recycling factory, specialized for fusion. Next, I normal summon Elemental Hero Prisma. Elemental Hero Prisma, level 4 Light Warrior 1700 ATK. Activate Prisma's effect. Once per turn, reveal a fusion monster from my extra deck. Then send one of the fusion materials listed on that card from my deck to the graveyard, and Prisma's name becomes that monster's until the end phase. I reveal Ultimate Ancient Gear Golem and send Ancient Gear Golem from my deck to the graveyard. Then, spell card, Ancient Gear Fusion. Whoa, he's going all out from the start. Starting right away with Ancient Gear Fusion. The spectators gasped as Hikaru wasted no time going full power. Ancient Gear Fusion is a fusion spell for Ancient Gear monsters. If you control Ancient Gear Golem, you can also use monsters from your deck as fusion materials. Hikaru slid through his deck, pulled out 2 cards, and declared, I send 2 Ancient Gear Knights from my deck to the graveyard, and Prisma, whose name is treated as Ancient Gear Golem, from my field. Fusion Summon. Steel Knights, become the body. Join with the Ancient Giant to form the Ultimate Machine. Fusion Summon, Ultimate Ancient Gear Golem. Rumble. A massive, terrifying machine towered on the field, radiating overwhelming power. Ultimate Ancient Gear Golem, level 10 Earth Machine 4400 ATK. Whoa! 4400 attack. That's Hikaru's signature fusion monster. In Funlo's factory, the employees erupted into cheers. After all, between 4400 and 1500, the winner was obvious. But Rex Raptor muttered to himself from his hospital bed, no, something's not right. Battle. Ultimate Ancient Gear Golem attacks. The colossal mech raised its iron fist toward the helpless Flying Kamakiri number 2. The Flying Kamakiri number 2 froze mid-air, its wings ceasing to flap, slowly drifting down. Wah! 4,400. I'm doomed. Weevil screamed, clutching his head in frustration. Wahoo! Hikaru's gonna deal massive damage, the Funlo manager shouted excitedly. But just as the iron fist was about to slam down, Weevil smirked darkly beneath his hood. Ha, fooled you. I activate the effect of a monster in my hand. From the hand, gasped the manager. Parasite Paranoid. Weevil giggled. This card equips itself to a monster on the field. The equipped monster becomes insect type, cannot attack insects, and its effects are negated against insect monsters. And this effect can be activated during your turn too. Go, parasite! A green, snake-like bug slithered out of the card, flying into the ultimate ancient gear golem's head. The giant mech halted, stiffening in place. Hikaru tilted his head, staring at his frozen giant. He, see that? That's the power of a veteran duelist. Weevil cackled. Admit defeat now and become my underling, and I might spare you. Ridiculous. Hikaru calmly turned to face him. I saw this coming. Pfft, talk big much? Weevil scoffed. Hikaru shook his head. No, it's not empty talk. Everyone except Rex Raptor looked confused, including Weevil, who started sweating. I was just testing you, to see what tricks you had, and surprise, it's exactly the same. Ha ha ha, what are you saying? I don't get it. Hikaru glanced at his hand, set a card face down, and declared, end my turn. At the end phase, Fusion Recycling Plant activates. Once per end phase, I can add one fusion material that was used this turn from my graveyard back to my hand. I retrieve Prisma. He showed Prisma from his graveyard, then added it to his hand. Now, back to our conversation. Did you really think I came here furious and unprepared to duel you? Hikaru tapped his duel disc. Knowing that my opponent is a legendary scumbag like you, how could I possibly rush in like Rex Raptor did? I reviewed the footage of your previous duel. Your plays and setup, it's all identical to when you dueled Rex. TCH, you brat. Hikaru coldly retorted, my name, Amaki Hikaru, is destined to crush yours. Drop the Elder Act, bug freak. That wraps up this part of What If Fusion deck user in a different Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. Thanks so much for listening. As always, new parts drop every 4 days, so be sure to stay tuned. Quick reminder. The series What If Ichigo awoke his true powers to save his mother will be going on hold soon, since we've nearly caught up with the author. So now, I need your help picking the next project for the channel. I'm currently deciding between these 3 fanfics. What if Transmigrated into a nightmare mode Dragon Ball world? What if Reborn in Highschool DxD as a Lucifuge? What if Fishing System in Food Wars world? Please vote in the poll and let me know which story you'd like to see next. I'll take the top pick and start working on that series next. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and please consider supporting the original author as well. See you in the next one.